Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of the Bison video blog brought to you by Gate City Bank with Jeff Kolpak. I'm Dom Izzo. North Dakota State set for an 11th trip in the last 12 years to the FCS semifinals and a date with the University of Incarnate Word Friday night at Gate City Bank Field of the Fargodome. A bonus home game, Jeffrey. The Bison, I don't know if we're counting on it being the 3 seed, and yet, just like in 2015, the 2nd seed falls, and NDSU has a home game for a chance to go to Frisco, Texas.
Still, the streak is alive on getting to Frisco. You don't have to really hit the road. That was a big win for Incarnate Word at Sac State. I go back to the 2014 College Game Day game, which was the 3rd game of NDSU season. Remember, the previous week, the Bison had to beat Weber State.
That's right.
And they said, if you beat Weber, College Game Day will come. And word leaked out, and they didn't play that well out there.
Chris hadn't even coached a home game yet. That was his first game at home.
Yeah, didn't play that well, but then College Game Day came, and Incarnate Word in 2014 was just dreadful. It was in the second of a 4-year plan to get its scholarships up. It was new to Division I football, FCS football, and it was just an awful team. So give them credit for wherever they were in 2014 and where they're at now has really been an impressive rise.
Well, I remember the former commissioner of the Southland Conference, Tom Burnett, told us when we were down there, he's like, keep an eye on them. They're based in San Antonio. They've got the facilities. They've got certainly the players that they were going to be a contender in the not-too-distant future. He turned out to be very correct on that.
He was Nostradamus on that one.
They won back-to-back games against FBS opponents. They won a playoff game last year and now a semifinal appearance here in 2022.
So I think they got the money component together, and they got their financials.
The coaches together, too, now. 2 straight. They're leaving for FBS jobs.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty good, too.
It works out.
So you get those. You need money to win at football. I mean, let's just call it like it is. You need the cash. You need a budget. You need a budget to go recruit. You need all that stuff, and you can't do it bare bones. I mean, you can't just do it a little bit. You either all in or not all in. And I've said this about all these players in the transfer portal, and especially in the FCS. Be careful what you're looking for, because not everybody in FCS is all in on football. In fact, most probably are not.
Especially at the FCS level. I think
a lot of basketball schools out there.
A lot of basketball schools at this division of football. They bring with them, Jeff, the likely Walter Payton winner in 2022, Lindsey Scott, who's on his 7th year of college, his 5th different team. When you count in a red shirt, a medical red shirt, and the COVID year, he got 3 extra years of eligibility, and he has been a star for Incarnate Word this year.
Well, do you think 59 touchdowns and 6 interceptions is pretty good?
And they added 9 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, it's video game numbers is what it is. Now, they've played some teams that are pretty suspect. Had one Division II. Faulkner, I believe, is Division II. I don't even know that for sure. Texas A&M Commerce, which is new to the division.
I'll say that.
Yeah, I got the FBS win.
Yep. And they play, I mean, for anybody that stayed up and watched the game late Friday night into Saturday morning, I mean, he was a one-man wrecking crew against Sacramento State.
Lindsey Scott, 5'11", 211 pounds, again, a 7th-year guy, very elusive. He's a dual-threat quarterback. And for the 2nd straight Friday now, NDSU will have to deal with an up-tempo offense.
I'm interested just in how he performs against a Bison defense that certainly has gotten better as the season gone along, with young guys stepping up. We've talked about him, it seems, ad nauseum over the last month and a half, especially on that interior defensive line. And we're still waiting if Bigfoot's going to make an appearance. If Eli Mostert is going to play on Friday night.
He's going to play this year. I'm going to call it.
Okay.
I don't know for sure, but I'm going to call it. He's got to play.
I mean, even if it's 10 to 15 snaps, how big a deal that would be.
Well, I know the head coach is tired about asking about his medical staff too. I'm tired of it too. Yes. He said, and so I would imagine he's going to play. I mean, it's now or never, right? We said that last week, but certainly now or never.
Yeah, we're getting closer to never, I guess,
right.
on the gauge on that. For the Bison, again, the injuries continue to mount, as we mentioned in the post-game show Friday. Tamarick Williams, Cole Payton, and Raja Nelson, all offensive players, left the game with injuries. Asked about it, Madden said they're back at practice. They're doing some things. It's day-to-day.
What's that? Walking in a boot? That's something.
That's
I don't know.
Day-to-day is how it's been described right now for all 3 of those guys.
I just don't. Maybe Cole Payton could be back. His seemed like the least of the sprains or whatever is going on. Tamarick looked injured when he left. Raja Nelson looked injured when he left. I would be surprised if those two go, and that's going to leave it to TK Marshall and Kobe Johnson. I think those are going to be the 2 guys, and it's this time of year. So if it's just Kobe, you go. I mean, you just go with Kobe.
Well, you look at TK Marshall is a highly recruited young man out of the Twin Cities, Minneapolis Southwest, who we've seen hit home runs granted, I know people are going to say, well, it's garbage time, Dom, but he's not done that the last couple games here in the FCS playoffs.
I give TK Marshall a lot of credit. Here's a guy who's probably, fourth on the depth chart. Right. He's behind Ganella for a while, and he could have transferred, right?
I'd say fifth, honestly, if you throw Lipke into the mix, too.
Yeah. So here's a guy that could have gone into the transfer portal and found another spot like some of these other guys are, but he's stuck it out, and he could be playing a big, valuable role on Friday.
I tend to agree with you. We're looking at, again, we're playing doctor here on television, but Turmeric looked injured. That's a spot where TK Marshall may be called upon. And the Incarnate Word defense, I'll just say, looked like they really struggled to stop anybody so far. Furman did anything they wanted, and so did Sacramento State.
I thought Samford did the previous week, too, and they were pretty good last week. We'll see what, if Incarnate Word, if they learned something from the Samford film, and then I guess conversely, what NDSU learned from dealing with Samford and what to expect.
It's really interesting, Jeff, because their head coach, G.J. Kinney, is on his way to Texas State. So whenever the Cardinal season ends, if it's Friday night or in Frisco, he's on to a new job, which is really interesting how that's surrounding this for the last couple of weeks for the Word.
But I think it's a template that Chris Kleiman had when he left NDSU and was going to K-State. He's going to go after the season. Craig Bull left after the season. I think that's what you do now. You don't put it off, the announcement. You announce what you're doing, get it over with. Right. And the players, they understand. Yeah. I mean, they understand when guys get promoted.
They're leaving before the
They're leaving too,
anyway, so this is the era we live in. The other semifinal is 3 o'clock on Saturday, the rematch of the game last year from Bozeman, this time in Brookings, Montana State and South Dakota State. The Jacks, a 7-point favorite early on in the Vegas betting lines on this.
It feels more even than that.
I think so. I think it's a total coin flip game. And again, you're a prisoner of the moment here. You're watching what Holy Cross's quarterback did against the SDSU defense. You bring Tommy Millott and their running game in there, that might be a big challenge.
Well, now here's the cat and mouse. Holy Cross guy went for 211 yards. Yeah, Tommy Millott, who's a running quarterback, and they bring that Chambers guy in too to do some stuff. But I would imagine that South Dakota State saw that last week and will do some adjustment.
Adam Bach was back playing for the Jackrabbit defense last week, which is a huge deal for SDSU. The weather you brought up to me as well. It's going to be chilly and it's
18 and windy, maybe. Saturday down in You're going to have snow all week. It's not going to be nice. Montana State will say this: they play outside too in bad conditions. So you got two cold weather teams.
That's shapes up to be a heck of a football game. Montana State says what? We did that all for 3 weeks last year, prepping for the game, the national championship game. They were doing that all outside last year and repping for Frisco.
Yeah. So it's it's. I think those are all excuses this time of the year. It's play or go home.
Real quick before we go, just as we got here to the Shack today, it seemed like the ticket office was humming a little bit more. At least that I haven't seen the first 2 rounds. That's a huge story in this. I consider this a bonus home game. You weren't planning on this to get it. What the crowd will be like on Friday night? Yeah,
it's the $1 million question: is why has the crowd been so down compared to 5, 6, 7 years ago? I think it's a myriad of factors. I think it's cost for one thing. I mean, 2 tickets, $100. I mean, you got parking and you got beer and wine and soft drinks and food and all that stuff. Yeah. It's an expensive day, and I just don't know if fans can do that 3 weeks or want to do that 3 weeks in a row.
And crazy enough, Jeff, they were probably banking on the fact that NDSU would be in this game and have a chance to host it, and now they'll be here, which to me sounds crazy, but the fact that they've got here again.
I didn't think they'd be here. I thought Sac State was going to win that game.
Going on the road, but in fact, here we are with a chance for another home game and a chance to go back to Frisco, Texas. It's Incarnate Word and North Dakota State. The Word against the Herd. Should be fun coming up on Friday. Don't forget, Bison Game Day will get you started 3 o'clock on WDAY. Myself, Jeff, Logan, and Kyle will be there to get you ready. We'll, of course, have live shots at 5, 9, and post-game. Of course, we'll wrap things up. Jeff, Mike, Eric, and myself. So we'll see who's moving on to Frisco to face the winner of Montana State and SDSU. For Jeff Kolpak, I'm Dom Izzo. That's the latest Bison video blog brought to you by Gate City Bank.